Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudevaya. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Raghuta Seva Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtikhi. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, Narad concludes his teachings to Vasudeva. Text 37 onwards. Nahi yata paramo labho dehinam bhramyatam iha yato vindet paramam shantim nashyati samsritihi. Indeed, there is no higher possible gain for embodied souls forced to wander throughout the material world than the Supreme Lord Sankirtan movement, by which one can attain the supreme peace and free oneself from the cycle of repeated birth and death. So this Sankirtan movement, Sankirtan Yagya, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inaugurated, established, that's the best thing that can happen for the people of Kali Yuga. In the Skanda Purana as well as in other Puranas, there is following statement: Mahabhagavata Nityam Kalo Kurvanti Kirtanam. During Kali Yuga, the great devotees of the Lord always engage in Kirtan, chanting the Lord's holy name. It's the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be merciful, and He is especially merciful to those who, in a helpless condition, take complete shelter of His lotus feet. One can immediately take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord by chanting His holy names. According to Srila Swami, even in previous ages such as Satyuga, it was not possible for the living entities to achieve the perfection that is available in Kali Yuga. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained this as follows. In former ages such as Satyuga, human beings were perfectly qualified and easily performed even the most difficult spiritual processes, meditating for many thousands of years practically without eating or sleeping. Thus, although in any age one who completely takes shelter of the Lord's holy name gets all perfection, the highly qualified people of Satyuga do not consider that merely moving the tongue and lips, chanting the Lord's holy name is a complete process, and that the Lord's holy name is the only shelter within the universe. They are more attracted to the difficult and elaborate yoga system of meditation, complete with sophisticated sitting postures, painstaking control of the breath, and deep extended meditations in trance on the personality of Godhead within the heart. In Satyuga, sinful life is practically unheard of, and therefore people are not afflicted with the terrible reactions seen in Kali Yuga, such as world war, famine, plague, drought, insanity, etc. Although in Satyuga, people always worship the personality of Godhead as the ultimate goal of life and meticulously follow His laws called Dharma, they do not feel themselves to be in a helpless condition. And thus, they do not always experience intense love for the Lord. But in Kali Yuga, living conditions are so unbearable. Modern governments are so obnoxious. Our bodies are so ridden by physical and mental diseases. And even self-preservation is so troublesome that the conditioned souls intensely cry out the holy name of Krishna, begging for relief from the onslaught of this age. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement have vivid and unforgettable experiences of the terrible contradictions inherent in human society in this age, and thus they are firmly convinced that there is nothing to be achieved except the mercy of the Supreme Lord, and that can only happen through Kirtan process, nothing else. Because meditation in Kali Yuga, when we are so disturbed, not at all possible. Big yagyas can't find the ingredients or the Brahmins to chant their mantras. Elaborate deity worship in the temple. We can say, oh, we are opening big temples, and so many big temples are there. But if we really look at we are offering the deities plastic jewelry. We cannot even offer pure gold or diamond jewelry to the deities because people can come, thieves can come steal them. So plastic jewelry, this is what we offer to the deities. Deities are very merciful. They accept even the plastic jewelry and even the clothes. They're not even pure silk. We cannot offer that. So it's just the mercy of the deities. And sometimes we offer only plastic flowers, not even real flowers. That they still accept whatever nonsense and substandard services we can do. So Dwapar Yuga, they really used to elaborate devotion. So in Kali Yuga, all we can do is take shelter of the holy names of the Lord. So due to the helpless and pathetic condition, the living entities in Kali Yuga have great impetus to surrender fully to the holy name of Krishna, putting all of their hope and faith in the Lord's holy name. Kali Yuga is therefore the best age because in this age, more than in Satyuga or other ages, the conditioned souls become disgusted with the kingdom of illusion and surrender fully to the Lord's holy name. This status of full surrender is called Paramam Shanti, most supreme peace. Text 38. Kritadishu prajarajan kalavichanti sambhavam kalau khalu bhavishyanti narayana parayana kvachin maharaja dravideshu cha bhurisha tamraparni nadiyatra kritamala payasmini kaveri cha mahapunya pratichi cha mahanadi ye pibanti jalam tasa manuja manudeshwara prayo bhakta bhagavati vasudeve amalashaya. My dear king, the people of Satyuga and other ages eagerly desire to take birth at this age of Kali, since in this age there will be many devotees of the Supreme Lord Narayana. These devotees will appear in various places, but will be especially numerous in South India. O master of men, in the age of Kali, those persons who drink the waters of the holy rivers of Dravidesha, such as Tamraparni, Kritamala, Payaswini, the extremely pious Kaveri, and the Pratichi Mahanadi, will almost all be pure-hearted devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. See, that's why we have pure devotee in our group as Radha Prabhu. He's from South India, and such a pure devotee is. The Vedas contain information of past, present, and future living conditions throughout the universe. This is not very wonderful. For example, although at present time in India we are experiencing spring weather, we know that in the future the torrid summer will come, followed by the rainy season, autumn, and eventually winter and a new spring. Similarly, we know that these seasons have occurred repeatedly in the past. Thus, just as ordinary human beings can understand the past, present, and future seasons of the earth, the liberated followers of Vedic culture can easily understand the past, present, and future conditions of the seasonal ages of the earth and other planets. People of Satyuga are certainly aware of the conditions of Kali Yuga. They know that in Kali Yuga, the difficult material situation forces the living entity to take complete shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that the people of Kali Yuga therefore develop a high degree of love of Godhead. See, this is the advantage of Kali Yuga. Therefore, although the people of Satyuga are far more sinless, truthful, and self-controlled than the people of other ages, they desire to take birth in Kali Yuga in order to taste pure love of Krishna. What to speak of people of Satyuga, people of heavenly planets? They also want to take birth in Kali Yuga in human form in Bharatvarsha, so that by chanting of the holy names, they can go to the topmost planet, Golok Vrindavan. Without associating with the devotees of the Lord, no one can become an advanced devotee of the Lord. Therefore, since in Kali Yuga other Vedic processes collapse due to the unfavorable condition, and since the only authorized Vedic process is a devotional chanting of the Lord's holy name, which is available to everyone, there will undoubtedly be innumerable Vaishnavas or devotees of the Lord at this age. Birth in this age is very favorable for one who is eager to associate with the devotees. In fact, the Krishna consciousness movement is establishing authorized Vaishnava temples throughout the world so that in innumerable areas one may avail himself of association with pure Vaishnavas. So without association, obviously, we cannot make progress. So association with the devotees of the Lord is far more valuable than any amount of association with persons who are merely self-controlled, sinless, or expert in Vedic scholarship. So that's why in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastrik. Love Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hai. That by even a moment's association with the pure devotee, one can attain all success. So again, long purport, I'll just go towards the end. At the end of verse 40 in this chapter, it is stated, Prayo Bhakta Bhagavati Vasudeve Amalashaya. In general, those who are able to regularly drink the waters of the holy rivers of South India will be pure-hearted devotees of Lord Vasudeva. The word praya, or in general, indicates that those who are offensive to the Lord's devotees, although claiming themselves to be devotees, are not included within the list of Amalashya, or pure-hearted souls. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has pointed out that one should not be bewildered by seeing the apparently poverty-stricken conditions of the inhabitants of South India. Even nowadays, the inhabitants of the places mentioned in this verse generally spend their days with meager eating and clothing, and live as great, renounced devotees of the Supreme Lord. In other words, clothes do not make the man. To live as a polished animal, dressing oneself luxuriously and gratifying the tongue with rich foodstuffs, it is not the actual symptom of an advanced transcendentalist. Although the residents of South India are generally Sri Vaishnavas, or devotees in the Lakshmi Sampradaya, they are recognized as devotees of the Lord by the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, their austere living conditions should be taken as a good qualification, not a disqualification. And in fact, this material opulence is not a criteria. Definitely not a criteria for if one is advanced or not. Of course, we like to think this way. Or one who is materially advanced, materially opulent, he has the mercy of Krishna. No. Krishna's mercy works in a different way. It doesn't mean if somebody is impoverished, then he's a great devotee. It doesn't mean that either. So those two are different, very different criteria. But Bhagavatam specifically talks about devotees from South India. So that's what we have to respect. Devarshi bhutapta nirnam pitrinam na kinkaro nayam rini charaj sarvatmana ya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihritya kartam. O king, one who has given up all material duties and has taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who offers shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even one's forefathers who have passed away. Since all such classes of living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately. Very, very important verse. But it is for those who have taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda. So they don't need to do anything else. No Shrad, no nothing they have to do. Krishna will take care of everything. All the services or all their requirements, Krishna will take care. But definitely depends upon the how much surrendered we are. One who has not fully surrendered to the devotional service of the Lord undoubtedly has many material duties to perform. Every ordinary conditioned soul is a recipient of innumerable benefits given by the demigods who provide sun and moonshine, rain, wind, food, and ultimately one's own material body. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Stena eva saha. One who does not reciprocate with the demigods by offering them sacrifices, stena, or a thief. Similarly, other living entities, such as cows, are providing us with innumerable delicious and nutritious foodstuffs. When we wake up in the morning, our mind is refreshed by the sweet singing of birds. So we are accepting service from innumerable living entities, and we are obligated to repay them. So until one becomes a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is certainly a product of his society. We receive mundane education, culture, tradition, and protection from the society in which we live. And thus we owe a great debt to the society. Of course, our debt to society is not simply to the present order, but to all of our forefathers and ancestors who carefully preserved moral and social customs so that we, their descendants, could live peacefully. So we are indebted to so many people. So I'll go towards the end because it's a long purpose. People in general are only eager to receive benedictions from demigods, family members, and society because such benedictions are conducive to material sense gratification. Less intelligent persons consider such material progress to be the only goal of life and thus cannot appreciate the exalted position of pure devotional service. The devotees, however, do not waste time doubting the inconceivable beauty, strength, wealth, and geniality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but directly please the Lord's senses through loving service and thus receive the supreme benediction of going back home, back to Godhead. So, of course, devotees at the same time, they are not hard-hearted and they're not like careless about their family members. But their main duty is those who fully surrender. Again, this condition is there. The main duty is to serve Krishna fully, completely. And it is Krishna's promise. I take care, not just of the devotee, but his family members also. Ultimately, everybody is taken care of by Krishna, whether we are surrendered to him or not. But those who are really surrendered, Krishna will always look after his or her material duties if he has forsaken those, especially towards his relatives, towards his parents. Krishna does take care. This is the beauty of serving Krishna. He's very, very grateful. When he said to Prahlad Maharaj that you asked me for benedictions, Prahlad Maharaj said, no, I'm not a businessman. But Lord Nrsimhadev insisted. Then Prahlad Maharaj said, well, if you want to give me something, please forgive my father. He had committed many sins. Nrsimhadev said, 21 generations of your family, they're all liberated. That should be the least concern of yours. This is how grateful the Lord is towards his devotee. Even the generations, up, down, current generation, he takes care of all of them. So without any fear, we should just take shelter of Krishna and serve him. Of course, let the surrender grow slowly, let it grow organically. But we will see that we'll all have our own experiences. That yes, Krishna, you took care of everything. Not just in my life, in my immediate family members' lives also. Supad moolam bhajata priyasya tyaktanya bhavasya hari paresha vikarma yachot patitam kathanchit dhunoti sarmam hridhi sannivishta. One who has thus given up all other engagements and has taken full shelter at the lotus feet of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is very dear to the Lord. Indeed, if such a surrendered soul accidentally commits some sinful activity, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated within everyone's heart, immediately takes away the reaction to such a sin. Even to this extent, the Lord is merciful. In the previous verse, it was clearly described that a fully surrendered devotee of the Supreme Lord has no need to perform ordinary worldly duties. Now, in this verse, it is revealed that devotion service is so pure and potent that a surrendered devotee of the Lord has no need to perform any other purificatory process. They don't need to do any other prashchitta. Since devotional service is itself the most purifying process, a sincere devotee who has accidentally stumbled on the path should immediately resume his pure devotional service at the lotus feet of the Lord. That's it. You don't need to do any of the prashchitta. And Krishna himself says, Api chesu duracharo bhajate mamananyabha. The word Tyaktanya bhavasya in this verse is very significant. As stated in the previous verse, a pure devotee realizes clearly that all living entities, including Brahma and Shiva, are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus have no separate or independent existence. Realizing that everything and everyone is part and parcel of the Lord, a devotee automatically is not inclined to commit sinful activities by violating the order of the Lord. However, due to the powerful influence of material nature, even a sincere devotee may be temporarily overwhelmed by illusion and deviate from the rigid path of pure devotional service. In such a case, Lord Krishna himself, acting within the heart, removes such sinful activities or removes such reactions to those activities also. Even Yamaraj, the Lord of Death, has no power to punish a surrendered devotee who has accidentally committed sinful activities. As stated here, Krishna is Paresha, or the Supreme Lord, and all secondary lords, such as the demigods, cannot threaten the Lord's personal devotees. Just like in the case of Ajamil, we saw that. Because he chanted the name of Narayan, although he was calling his own son. He wasn't thinking I'm calling Lord Vishnu himself. But nevertheless, it's the name of Lord Vishnu, and the Vishnu Dutas came when Yam Dutas were trying to take away his soul to Yamlok. They came, they protected him, they gave him an extension of life. And then Ajamil just did devotion service, just did the chanting, went to Haridwar, and then he purified himself, went back to Vaikuntha. Although the surrendered devotees of the personality of Godhead may sometimes appear to be affected by mundane attitudes, they are inevitably protected by the merciful Lord and are never actually defeated in life. Next 43. Shri Narad Uvacha Dharman Bhagavatan Nitham Shrutvat Mithileshvara Jayantiyan Muni Prita Sopadhyayo Hi Apujaya. Narad Muni said, having thus heard the science of devotional service, Nimi, the king of Mithila, felt extremely satisfied and along with the sacrificial priests offered respectful worship to the sagacious sons of Jayanti. The word Jayantayan indicates the 9 Yogendras who were born from the womb of Jayanti, the wife of Rishabdev. Tato antara dadhire siddha sarvalokasya pashyata raja dharmanupatishtan avapa paramam gatim. The perfect sages then disappeared before the eyes of everyone present. King Nimi faithfully practiced the principles of spiritual life. He had learned from them and thus he achieved the supreme goal of life. So Narad Muni was describing all this to Vasudev ji, who had asked him the question on Bhagavad Dharma. Tvam api etan mahabhaga dharman bhagavatan shrutan asita shraddhaya yukto ne sango yasyase param. O greatly fortunate Vasudev, simply apply with faith these principles of devotional service, which you have heard, and thus being free from material association, you will attain the supreme. Narad Muni related to Krishna's father Vasudeva the story of the enlightenment of King Nimi. Now Narad reveals that Vasudeva himself will also achieve the supreme perfection of life by practicing the same principles spoken long ago by the 9 Yogendras. Actually, Vasudeva was already a person associated with the Supreme Lord, but due to his natural humility, as a great devotee, he was determined to perfect his love for Krishna. Thus, we can observe the exalted status of the parents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, although Vasudevji didn't have to go through all the processes that Navyogendras described to Nimi Maharaj, his own son is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudevji is such an exalted person. But out of his humility, he was asking, and Narad Muni was explaining. But later on, we'll see Narad Muni, we don't have to do all this. It just revealed to you, but you have done so much, and you just continue caring for your son, or caring for Krishna as your son, and that's it. Ordinary persons feel that the Supreme Lord is always to be worshipped as the Supreme Father who supplies everything for the living entities. Such an attitude is not the perfection of love of Godhead, because when a son is young, he is incapable of giving much service to his mother and father. When the child is young, it is rather the parents who are constantly serving the child. So when the devotee takes the role of mother or father of Krishna, there is unlimited opportunity for rendering loving service to the Lord, whom the devotee ecstatically accepts as his son. So here, Krishna is the son of Vasudevji. Yuvyo khalu dampatyor yashasa puritam jagat putritam agam advadam Bhagwan Ishvaro Hari. Indeed, the whole world has become filled with the glories of you and your good wife, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Hari, has taken the position of your son. In this verse, Narad Muni hints at the glories of Vasudeva and Devaki, the parents of Krishna and Balram, by the words Yashasha Puritam Jagat. The whole world is now filled with your glories. In other words, although Vasudeva inquired from Narad about spiritual advancement, Narad here states, you are already completely glorious to your extraordinary devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Darshana linga nala pahshayan asana bhojana atma va pavita Krishna putra sneham prakurvatum. My dear Vasudeva, you and your good wife Devaki have manifested great transcendental love for Krishna, accepting him as your son. Indeed, you are always seeing the Lord, embracing him, speaking with him, resting with him, sitting together with him, and taking your meals with him. By such affectionate and intimate association with the Lord, undoubtedly both of you have completely purified your hearts. In other words, you're already perfect. So it's not that Vasudevji has to do something extra to achieve perfection. He's already perfect. Due to Vasudeva and Devaki's intense love for Krishna as their son, they had already achieved the highest perfection stage of life. Although in the previous verse, Narad Muni informed Vasudeva that he and his wife had become glorious by Krishna's taking birth as his son. Vasudeva might have argued that other personal associates of the Lord, such as Jaya and Vijay, had fallen down due to offending the Brahmin class. Therefore, in the present verse, Narad Muni has used the word pavita. You're completely purified, and therefore you're completely free from the slightest trace of discrepancy in your devotion service due to your intense love for Krishna. It is understood from the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Sri Vasudeva, Krishna's pastime father, is actually an eternally liberated Nitya Siddha, associate of the personality of Godhead. Vasudeva has a spiritual body just as Krishna does, and he's always perched in the overwhelming ecstatic desire to serve Krishna, his beautiful son. However, Narad could understand that due to extreme humility, Vasudeva considered himself an ordinary human being and was feeling very anxious to receive transcendental instructions on the devotion service of the Lord. So this is why Narad Muni instructed him the science of Bhakti Yoga, as one might instruct an ordinary human being. But at the same time, Narad has revealed that actually Sri Vasudeva and Devaki are already completely glorious by their unprecedented fortune of having Krishna and Balram as his sons. Therefore, Naradji is telling Vasudeva, my dear Vasudeva, do not in any way be discouraged or doubtful about your position. Undoubtedly, you are immediately going back home, back to Godhead. And actually, you and your good wife are the most fortunate persons. But see the humility. That's one of the qualities of the devotees. They never think I'm somebody great. So Vasudeva and Devaki, how they obtained Krishna as their son after doing so much of tapasya, and then in the prison of house of Kansa when Krishna appeared, Krishna showed them. Vasudevji took him to Gokul and came back, and all his shackles were opened, and when he came back, shackles came together again. And so many, and Krishna killed Kansa just to liberate them, to protect them, and now he's with them. See the humility, so much of humility, how we are going to be liberated. And Narad Muni had to explain everything. Further, Narad Muni says, Varena yam nripataya shishupala pondra shalva deo gati vilasa vilokanatya dhyayanta akrit dhiya shainasanado tat samyam apura puranurukta dhyam punahakyam. Inimical kings like Shishupal, Pondrak and Shal were always thinking about Lord Krishna. Even while they were lying down, sitting, or engaging in other activities, they enviously meditated upon the bodily movements of the Lord, his sporting pastimes, his loving glances upon his devotees, and other attractive features displayed by the Lord. Being thus always absorbed in Krishna, they achieved spiritual liberation in the Lord's own abode. What then can be said of the benedictions offered to those who constantly fix their minds on Lord Krishna in a favorable, loving mood? So, kind of satisfaction or comfort Narad Muni is giving to Vasudevji that what kind of benediction you think you would be getting? On the eve of the disappearance of Lord Krishna from this world, Vasudeva became filled with lamentation, thinking that he had not properly utilized the opportunity of the Lord's personal presence to become perfectly Krishna conscious. So this was just before this Prabhas Kshetra Leela. However, Narad Muni assured Shri Vasudeva that the glories of Vasudeva and his good wife Devaki were chanted throughout the universe because even the demigods worship the exalted status of the Lord's own parents. Vasudeva was not only concerned about his own spiritual position, but he also lamented for the Yadu dynasty, which had left the world in an apparently inauspicious way. So it was apparently inauspicious, but it was all orchestrated by Krishna. Being cursed by great Brahmins such as Narad and dying in a fratricidal war. Although the members of the Yadu dynasty were personal associates of the Lord, the disappearance from the earth was apparently inauspicious, and therefore Vasudeva was concerned about their eventual destination. So Narad here assures Vasudeva that even the demons who opposed Krishna, such as Shishupal, Pondrak, and Shalva, achieved promotion to the Lord's own abode because of their constant absorption in thinking of Krishna. So what to speak of the exalted members of the Yadu dynasty, who actually loved Krishna more than anything else or anyone else. So definitely all the members of Yadu dynasty who came from Vaikuntha, and they're going back to it. Ma patya buddhim kritha Krishna sarvatmanishvare maya manushya bhavena Gudashvarya Pareavyaye. Do not think of Krishna as an ordinary child, because he is the supreme personality of Godhead, inexhaustible and the soul of all beings. The Lord has concealed his inconceivable opulences and is thus outwardly appearing to be an ordinary human being. Lord Krishna is the original source of all plenary incarnations of the Absolute Truth. He is not an ordinary person, he is a supreme personality of Godhead. So in this way, Narad is encouraging Vasudeva to continue to love Krishna as his most beloved son, for such ecstatic devotional feelings are never to be given up. But at the same time, Narad is removing Vasudeva's doubts about the future by assuring him, due to your love for Krishna, you may think that he is an ordinary human being. You are appearing like a human being, and Lord Krishna is simply reciprocating with you. But he is not an ordinary human being. He is always the supreme personality of Godhead. So in order to reciprocate the love of Vasudeva for him, Krishna mostly concealed his unlimited opulences. In this way, the devotee is fully encouraged in his particular loving relationship with the Lord. Just like with Mother Yashoda. He showed Mother Yashoda he is the supreme personality of God at many times, like showing the whole universe in his mouth, lifting the Govardhan hill for 7 days, 7 nights. But then he let his Maya, Yoga Maya, cover over all his devotees so they don't. So their relationship with Krishna is not hampered by this display of opulence. Bhubhara Asura Rajanya Hantve Gupteye Satam Avatiranasya Nirvritya Yasho Loke Vitanyate. The Supreme Personality of God had descended to kill the demoniac kings who were the burden of the earth and to protect the saintly devotees. However, both the demons and the devotees are awarded liberation by the Lord's mercy. Thus his transcendental fame has spread throughout the universe. A doubt may arise concerning the Supreme Personality of Godhead's descent to this material world. Since he is the omnipotent creator of millions of universes, why do the devotees glorify as wonderful the Lord's activities, such as his killing a witch named Putna by sucking out her life through her breasts? The answer is given in this verse by the word nirvrityati, nirvrityaya. The Lord killed the demons not because he was envious of them, but in order to give them spiritual liberation. Thus, the causeless mercy of the personality of Godhead in liberating both the devotees and the demons by his inconceivable pastimes clearly distinguishes the Lord from any other living entity, either man or demigod. This is his mercy. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has pointed out that generally the demons are awarded impersonal liberation in Brahman effulgence, whereas the devotees are given the superior benediction of love of Godhead in the spiritual planets. Thus the Lord exhibits his causeless mercy toward all classes of living entities, and his fame is spread throughout the universe. Because Krishna, everything is sweet about him and everything is full of mercy about him. He just cannot separate himself from Kripa, from mercy. Even for demons, he kills, mercifully gives them liberation. What else we can ask for? Shri Shukavacha, Etat Shrutva Mahabhakto, Vasudevavati Vismita, Devaki cha Mahabhaga, Jahatur Moha Matmana. Shri Shukdev Goswami continued, having heard this narration, the greatly fortunate Vasudeva was completely struck with wonder. Thus he and his most blessed wife Devaki gave up all illusion and anxiety that had entered their hearts. Iti hasam imam punyam dharyedya samahita savidhu yeha shamalam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So anyone who meditates on this pious historical narration with fixed attention will purify himself of all contamination in this very life and thus achieve the highest spiritual perfection. Wow, wonderful, Shrutiful. Will purify himself of all contamination. So all we have to do is just meditate or hear this historical narration. So thus ends the purport to the 5th chapter of 11th canto of Bhagavatam, entitled Narad concludes his teachings to Vasudeva. So I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, so you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri.